The escape pod hit the ground hard, felt his body shake inside the metal shell. Warning lights flashed red. Smoke filled the small space. He coughed and pushed the emergency button. The door opened with a loud sound. Fresh air rushed in, crawled out and fell onto soft grass. He lay there for a moment, breathing deeply. His body hurt everywhere. His head was bleeding a little, but he was alive. That was all that mattered. He looked up at the sky. It was purple, not blue like Earth's sky, but a deep purple with two small suns setting in the distance. He was not on Earth anymore. He was not even in the same galaxy. Was a medic on the research ship Aurora. They were exploring new planets when something attacked them. He did not see what it was. He only heard the captain shouting to abandon ship. He ran to the nearest escape pod and pressed the launch button. That was 3 hours ago. Now he was alone on a strange planet. No communication, no weapons, just his medical bag that he always carried with him. He stood up slowly and looked around. The forest was beautiful but strange. The trees had silver leaves. The flowers glowed softly in the fading light. Everything looked peaceful but knew better. Peaceful-looking places often hid danger. He checked his bag. He had bandages, medicine, a small knife, water purification tablets, and some food bars. It was not much, but it could keep him alive for a few days. He needed to find shelter before night came. Walked through the forest carefully. He listened for any sounds. The planet was quiet, too quiet. No birds singing, no insects buzzing, just the soft sound of wind moving through the silver leaves. After walking for about an hour, he heard something. It was a soft cry, like someone in pain. Stopped and listened again. The sound came from his left. He should ignore it. He should find shelter first. But he was a medic. He could not ignore someone who needed help. He moved toward the sound. The crying became louder. He pushed through some bushes and found a small clearing. In the middle of the clearing, there was a girl. She was young, maybe 18 or 19 years old. Her skin was pale blue and her hair was long and white like snow. She was not human, but she was hurt. The girl sat on the ground holding her leg. There was a deep cut on her thigh. Dark blue blood flowed from the wound. Her eyes were closed and tears ran down her face. She was alone and scared. Stepped into the clearing. The girl heard him and opened her eyes. They were golden, like two small suns. She looked at him with fear and tried to move back, but the pain stopped her. "It's okay," said softly. He held up his hands to show he meant no harm. "I'm not going to hurt you. I'm a doctor. I can help." The girl did not understand his words. She spoke in a language had never heard before. Her voice was musical, like singing. She pointed at him and said something that sounded like a question. Pointed at himself, he said slowly. "My name is," then he pointed at her. She seemed to understand. She said quietly. Smiled and nodded. "That's a nice name." He moved closer slowly, keeping his movements gentle. He pointed at her wound and then at his bag. "I want to help. Can I help you?" Looked at his bag, then at her bleeding leg. She was in pain. She needed help. After a moment, she nodded slightly. Knelt beside her and opened his bag. He worked quickly but carefully. First, he cleaned the wound with water from his bottle, winced but did not pull away. The cut was deep, but it had not hit any major blood vessels. He applied antiseptic medicine. On Earth, this was basic stuff. But here, on this alien planet, who knew what infections existed? He hoped human medicine would work on her alien body. He took out a needle and medical thread. He needed to close the wound. He looked at and made a sewing motion with his hands. She seemed to understand and nodded, gripping the grass tightly with her hands. Worked as gently as he could. He had done this many times before, but never on an alien patient. Her blood was different. Her skin felt different, but the basic idea was the same. Close the wound, stop the bleeding, prevent infection. When he finished, he wrapped a clean bandage around her leg. The white cloth looked bright against her blue skin. He sat back and looked at his work. It was good. She would heal. Looked at her bandaged leg with wonder. She touched it gently as if she could not believe what had happened. Then she looked at with new eyes. The fear was gone. Instead, there was curiosity and something like gratitude. She spoke again in her musical language. Did not understand the words, but he understood the feeling. She was thanking him. "You're welcome," he said with a smile. The two suns had set now. The sky was dark, filled with strange stars. The forest became cold, shivered slightly. Looked around. They needed shelter. They needed warmth. He stood up and offered his hand to. She looked at it for a moment, then took it. He helped her stand, being careful not to put pressure on her hurt leg. She pointed toward the east and said something. Did not understand the words, but he understood the gesture. She knew a place they could go. Supporting with his arm around her waist, walked in the direction she pointed. He did not know where they were going. He did not know what waited for them. But for now, he had saved a life. And on this strange, lonely planet that felt like the most human thing he could do. As they walked through the dark forest, wondered what tomorrow would bring. He had no idea that this wounded girl was more important than he could ever imagine. He had no idea that his simple act of kindness would change his life forever. But those were thoughts for another time. Right now he focused on walking, one step at a time, one moment at a time. That was how you survived. That was how humans had always survived. The silver leaves whispered above them as they disappeared into the night. They walked for almost an hour through the dark forest, leaned on heavily, and he could feel her body trembling from pain and cold. But she kept moving, pointing the way with her free hand. Finally, they reached a small cave hidden behind thick bushes, said something, and gestured for to enter. Inside, the cave was dry and surprisingly warm. Soft glowing moss grew on the walls, giving gentle light. Helped sit down on the cave floor. He took off his jacket and put it around her shoulders. She looked at him with surprise, then pulled the jacket. It was a small act of kindness, but it seemed to mean a lot to her. That night they sat in silence, could not speak her language and she could not speak his, but somehow they communicated, through gestures, through expressions, through simple sounds. Shared his food bars with her. She looked at the strange human food with curiosity before taking a small bite. Her face showed confusion at the taste, but she ate it anyway. She must have been very hungry. Before sleeping, checked her wound again. The bleeding had stopped. The bandage was holding. He smiled at her and gave a thumbs up. She did not understand the gesture but smiled back. When morning came, woke to the sound of voices outside the cave. Many voices. He sat up quickly, his heart beating fast. Was already awake, looking toward the cave entrance with wide eyes. The bushes moved, and soldiers entered the cave. They were tall beings with the same blue skin and white hair as, but these were warriors. They wore silver armor and carried long weapons that looked like spears but glowed with energy. One soldier saw and shouted something. Before could react, two soldiers grabbed him and pushed him to the ground. His face pressed against the cold stone. His arms were twisted behind his back. "Wait, stop," he shouted, but they did not understand. Then spoke. Her voice was loud and commanding, very different from her soft voice the night before. The soldiers stopped. They looked at her with surprise and something else. Was it respect? Fear? One soldier dropped to his knee and bowed his head. The others quickly did the same. Still held on the ground, watched with confusion. Who was this girl? An older soldier spoke to in a careful, respectful tone. Answered, pointing at several times. The conversation went back and forth for a while. Finally, the older soldier nodded and gave an order. The soldiers released. He stood up slowly, rubbing his sore arms. Walked to him, limping slightly on her hurt leg. She took his hand and said something in her language. Her voice was gentle again. The soldiers surrounded them, but not in a threatening way. It was more like protection. They guided and out of the cave and through the forest. After walking for another hour, they reached the edge of the forest, stopped and stared at what he saw. A city rose before him, but it was not like any city on Earth. The buildings were tall and graceful, made of white stone that shined in the sunlight. Towers reached toward the purple sky. Gardens floated in the air between buildings. Flying vehicles moved silently through the streets. In the center of the city there was a massive palace. It was bigger than anything had ever seen. Its walls were decorated with gold and jewels. Flags flew from every tower. This was not just a city. This was a capital, a seat of power. The soldiers led them toward the palace. As they walked through the streets, people stopped and stared. They looked at with joy and relief. Many bowed, some cried. Children ran alongside them, shouting happily. But when they looked at, their expressions changed. Confusion, fear, suspicion. He was clearly different. His skin was not blue, his hair was dark. He was an outsider, an alien. Felt uncomfortable under their stares, but he kept walking. He had no choice. The soldiers were all around him. Besides, still held his hand. She seemed to want him close. They entered the palace through giant doors made of gold. The inside was even more beautiful than the outside. Crystal chandeliers hung from high ceilings. Paintings covered the walls. Servants in fine clothes stood everywhere, bowing as they passed. Finally, they entered a large throne room. At the far end, on a raised platform, sat a throne made of silver and diamonds, and on that throne sat a woman. She was tall and beautiful, with the same blue skin and white hair but she looked older, more dignified. She wore a crown of crystal on her head and robes of deep purple. Her golden eyes were cold and sharp. This was the queen. Released hand and ran forward. She fell to her knees before the throne and spoke rapidly. Tears flowed down her face. The queen listened without expression. When finished, the queen stood and walked down from her throne. She took his face in her hands and looked at her carefully. Then she hugged her tightly. The cold expression on her face melted into relief and love. She was not just a queen. She was a mother who had found her lost daughter. After a long moment, the queen released and turned to look at. Her expression became cold again. She walked toward him slowly, studying him like a scientist studying a strange insect. Stood still. He did not know what to do. Should he bow? Should he speak? He decided to stay quiet and let things happen. The queen circled him, looking at his clothes, his bag, his face. She said something to a nearby servant. The servant brought a small device and held it near his head. After a moment, the device beeped. The queen's eyes widened slightly. She spoke again and this time understood. The device was a translator. "You are not from our world," she said. Her voice was deep and powerful. "No, your majesty," replied. "I come from a planet called Earth. My ship crashed here." "Earth," the queen repeated, testing the word. "We have heard of your kind, humans. We thought you were just a legend." "We're real," said, "very real." The queen looked at, then back at. "My daughter says you saved her life. She says she was attacked by wild beasts and badly wounded. She says you found her and healed her." "I did what I could," said humbly. "I'm a medic, a healer. It's my job to help people." The queen's eyes narrowed. "Our healers could not save her. Our advanced medicine could not stop the infection that was spreading through her body. But you, a primitive human, you stopped it with simple tools." Was surprised by her words. "I used basic medicine, antiseptic, stitches, nothing special." "Nothing special," the queen repeated. She almost smiled. "You do not understand, human. My daughter was dying, and you brought her back to life." The queen turned to her advisors and spoke in her own language. They talked for several minutes, waited nervously. He did not know if he was a hero or a prisoner. Finally, the queen faced him again. "You will stay in the palace, human, as our guest. We have much to discuss about your healing abilities and about your future in our kingdom." Did not know what that meant, but he knew he had no choice. He was alone on an alien world, standing before a queen. His life was no longer in his own hands. She smiled at him, and that smile gave him a small bit of hope. Whatever happened next, at least he had one friend on this strange planet. The guards led him away to a room in the palace. It was luxurious, with soft beds and beautiful decorations, but the door locked behind him. He was a guest, but he was also a prisoner. Sat on the bed and looked out the window at the alien city below. He wondered what tomorrow would bring. He wondered if he would ever see Earth again. But deep inside, a strange feeling grew, a feeling that his story here was just beginning. 3 days passed, stayed in his room most of the time. Servants brought him food and water. The meals were strange but tasty: purple fruits, blue vegetables, meat that tasted like sweet fish. He ate everything they gave him. Each day he watched the city through his window. He learned its rhythms. The people woke at sunrise. They worked during the day. They gathered in the gardens at sunset. Life here was peaceful and organized, but was restless. He was a prisoner in a golden cage. No one told him what would happen to him. No one answered his questions. He was just waiting, waiting for something. On the 4th day, something changed. A servant came to his room in the early morning. She bowed and spoke through a small translator device. "The Queen requests your presence. Please follow me." Nodded and followed her through the long palace hallways. They walked for several minutes before reaching a door guarded by soldiers. The soldiers stepped aside, and the servant opened the door. Inside was a medical room. White walls, clean floors, strange machines humming softly. In the center of the room was a bed, and on that bed lay. She looked terrible. Her blue skin had turned pale gray. Sweat covered her face. Her eyes were closed and her breathing was shallow. She was much worse than when had first found her. The Queen stood beside the bed, holding her daughter's hand. When she saw, her cold expression cracked slightly. He could see fear in her golden eyes, fear and desperation. "Human," she said, "my daughter is dying." Rushed to the bed and looked at closely. He touched her forehead. She was burning with fever. He looked at her leg wound. The bandage had been replaced with alien technology. Glowing patches covered the wound and tubes connected her to machines. "What happened?" he asked. A tall in white robe stepped forward. He was a doctor guest. "The infection has spread," the doctor said through a translator. "It entered her blood. Our medicine cannot stop it. We have tried everything." Examined the wound more closely. Despite all their advanced technology, something was wrong. The wound was red and swollen. The infection was getting worse, not better. "Can I see your medicine?" asked. The doctor looked at the Queen. She nodded. He showed the medicines they had used: liquids in glass bottles, powders in metal containers. Did not understand the alien words on the labels, but he understood their purpose. "These are all very advanced," said slowly, "but I think I see the problem." The doctor's face showed surprise. "What problem? These are the most advanced medicines in our empire." "That might be the issue," said. "Your medicines are designed to fight your infections, but I think this infection is different. When I first treated, I used human antiseptic. It killed some of the bacteria, but it also created something new, a mix of your bacteria and my medicine." The doctor looked confused. "That is not possible." "It is very possible," said firmly. "On my planet, we call this adaptation. Bacteria change to survive. Your medicine cannot kill this new form because it has never seen anything like it, but my medicine might work because it came from the same source." The Queen stepped forward. "Are you saying you can save her?" Hesitated. He was not sure. He was just a field medic, not a scientist, but he had to try. "I can try, Your Majesty, but I need my bag, my medical supplies." The Queen waved her hand. A soldier left and returned moments later with his bag. It had been taken when he arrived at the palace, opened it and checked the contents. Everything was still there. He pulled out a small bottle of antibiotic pills. On Earth, these were common medicine. Every first aid kit had them, but here they might be the most valuable things on the planet. "I need clean water," said, "and I need everyone to step back." The doctor looked offended. "I will not leave my patient with this primitive." "Let him work," the Queen commanded. Her voice left no room for argument. The room cleared except for the Queen, who refused to leave her daughter's side. Understood. If it were his child, he would stay too. He crushed 2 antibiotic pills and mixed them with clean water. Then he carefully removed the bandages and technology from his leg. The wound looked bad. Pus and dark blood seeped from the edges. The infection had gone deep. Cleaned the wound thoroughly with his antiseptic. Moaned softly in her sleep, but did not wake. Then he applied the antibiotic mixture directly to the wound and wrapped it with his own bandages. "She needs to take these orally too," said, holding up more pills. "Twice a day for 7 days, and she needs rest, real rest. No machines, no technology, just natural healing." The Queen looked at the small white pills with doubt. "Such simple things," she said. "How can these save her when our great technology cannot?" "Sometimes simple is better," answered. "On Earth, we learned this lesson many times. We created amazing machines and powerful chemicals, but sometimes the old ways work best. Our bodies know how to heal themselves. We just need to help them along." The Queen was silent for a long moment, then she nodded. "Do what you must, human, save my daughter." Worked through the day and into the night. He monitored her temperature. He changed her bandages. He made sure she took her medicine when she woke briefly. The Queen watched everything he did with sharp eyes. By midnight, fever began to fall. By morning, her breathing was stronger. By the next evening, she opened her eyes and spoke her first words in days. "Mother," she whispered, "I feel better." The Queen held her daughter and cried. Had never seen such emotion from the cold Queen. In that moment, she was not a ruler. She was just a mother grateful to have her child back. Over the next few days continued to improve. The infection retreated. The wound began to heal properly. Color returned to her skin. She started eating again, drinking again, laughing again. The palace celebrated. News spread through the city. The strange human had saved the princess when all else failed. People who had looked at with suspicion now looked at him with wonder. On the 7th day was well enough to walk. She came to his room, moving slowly but steadily. She carried a translator device with her. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was still weak but warm. "You saved my life twice now." Smiled, "I just did my job." "No," said seriously. "You did much more. My mother says your medicine is special, that humans carry something in their bodies that we do not have, something that fights sickness in ways we cannot." "Antibodies," explained. "Our bodies create them to fight disease. Millions of years of evolution gave us this gift. I never thought it would be useful like this." Sat beside him on the bed. "My mother wants to speak with you. She has made a decision about your future." "Good or bad?" asked nervously. Smiled mysteriously. "You will see, come, she is waiting." They walked together to the throne room. The great doors opened and saw the Queen sitting on her silver throne. But this time she was not alone. Her advisors stood around her. Important-looking filled the room. This was not just a meeting. This was something much bigger. Walked forward and stopped before the throne. He did not know what was coming, but he felt that his life was about to change forever. The Queen stood and looked down at him with those piercing golden eyes. "Human named," she said, "you have done something impossible. You have saved my daughter. You have proven that your kind possesses gifts we never imagined. And now I must make you an offer." Swallowed nervously. "What kind of offer, Your Majesty?" The Queen smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who had found a valuable treasure. "An offer you cannot refuse." The throne room was silent. Everyone watched. He could feel the weight of their stares. hundreds of golden eyes studying him, judging him, waiting to see what would happen next. The queen descended from her throne and walked toward him. Her purple robes flowed behind her like water. Each step she took echoed through the massive hall. She stopped directly in front of, so close he could see the tiny lines around her eyes. "Human," she said, "do you know what you have done?" Kept his voice steady. "I healed your daughter, your majesty." "You did more than heal her," the queen replied. "You proved something that my scientists have debated for centuries. You proved that primitive species sometimes hold secrets that advanced civilizations have lost." She turned and walked slowly around him like a hunter circling prey. "My people evolved beyond natural healing long ago. We rely on technology, machines, artificial solutions. But you humans, you still carry ancient weapons in your blood. Your bodies fight disease in ways ours forgot." "Antibodies," said quietly. "It's just biology." "Just biology," the queen repeated with a short laugh. "You say it so simply, but do you understand what this means? Do you understand how valuable you are?" Stayed silent. He was beginning to understand, and it scared him. The queen stopped in front of him again. "My empire stretches across 12 star systems. Billions of my people live under my rule, and they are dying, slowly dying." This surprised him. "Dying? Your civilization seems strong." "On the surface, yes," the queen admitted. "But look deeper. Each generation we become weaker. Sicknesses that once killed none now kill thousands. Our medicine stops working. Our bodies have forgotten how to fight. We are winning wars against other empires but losing the war against nature itself." She gestured to her advisors. One of them stepped forward holding a glowing tablet. He showed charts and numbers, population statistics, death rates, medical reports. The numbers were frightening. The people were declining, slowly but steadily. "We have searched the galaxy for solutions," the queen continued. "We have studied thousands of species, but none had what we needed, none except you." Felt the full weight of her words. "You want my blood, my antibodies." "I want more than that," the queen said. "I want your knowledge, your medicine, your techniques. I want everything humanity knows about fighting disease." "I'm just a medic," said honestly. "I don't have access to all of Earth's knowledge. I can only share what I know." "That will be a start." The queen returned to her throne and sat down. "But there is a problem. You are an outsider, an alien. My people do not trust you. My nobles do not accept you. If I simply keep you here as a prisoner, my enemies will use it against me. They will say I am desperate, weak." "So what do you want from me?" asked. The queen smiled that cold, calculating smile again. "I want you to become one of us, officially, legally, permanently." His heart beat faster. "What does that mean?" "It means marriage," the queen said simply. "You must marry into the royal family. You must become by law. Then your knowledge, your gifts, your bloodline, they all belong to the empire, and no one can question it." The words hit like a punch to the chest. Marriage. He looked at who stood nearby with an unreadable expression. Was she part of this plan? Did she know? "Your Majesty," said carefully, "I am grateful for your hospitality, but this is very sudden. I barely know your culture, your customs. I have been here less than 2 weeks." "You have no choice," the queen said flatly. "You crashed on my planet. You have no ship, no way to leave. Even if you could leave, where would you go? Your ship was destroyed. Your crew is likely dead. Earth is thousands of light years away." Each word was true. Each word hurt. Had been trying not to think about his crew, about his friends who had probably died in the attack, about Earth, which he might never see again. The queen continued. "I am offering you something rare, human, a place in my court, power, wealth, protection. You will want for nothing. You will be respected, honored, and in return you will help save my people." "And if I refuse?" The queen's eyes hardened. "Then you will remain a prisoner, a curiosity. We will study you like an animal. We will take what we need from you by force. and when we have extracted everything useful, we will dispose of you." The threat hung in the air like poison. Looked around the room. Every face was cold, determined. These people would do exactly what the Queen said. He had no doubt. "I need time to think," said. "You have 1 day," the Queen replied. "Tomorrow at sunset you will give me your answer. Choose wisely, human." Guards escorted back to his room. The door locked behind him. He sat on his bed and put his head in his hands. How had things become so complicated? He had just wanted to survive, to help a wounded girl. Now he was being forced into marriage to save an alien empire. Hours passed. Night fell, could not sleep. He paced his room like a caged animal, thinking about his options. He had none. The Queen was right. He was trapped. A soft knock came at his door. It opened and entered quietly. She wore a simple blue dress, not the royal clothes from before. She looked almost normal, almost like the frightened girl he had found in the forest. "I came to apologize," she said through her translator. "I did not know my mother would do this." Looked at her carefully. "Is that true?" "Yes," said firmly. "I knew she wanted to keep you here. I knew she valued your medicine, but I did not know she would force you into marriage. That is not right." "But you are not stopping her." His face showed pain. "I cannot. She is the Queen, my mother. Her word is law, even I must obey." They stood in silence for a moment, then spoke again. "I know this is not fair to you. You are a stranger here. You saved my life, and this is how we repay you, with threats and demands." "Yes," said honestly, "that is exactly how it feels." "But I want you to know something," continued. "If you agree to this, I will make sure you are treated well. I will teach you our ways. I will be your friend in this strange place. You will not be alone." Studied her face. She seemed sincere, genuine, despite everything he believed her. "The marriage," he asked slowly. "Who would I marry? Some noble I have never met." Hesitated. Her blue cheeks seemed to grow slightly darker. Was she blushing? "My mother has not decided yet. There are several options. Noble families who would accept a foreign husband. Or what?" "Or me," said quietly. "I am the princess, the heir to the throne. A marriage to me would be the strongest statement. It would tie you to the royal family forever." Did not know what to say. He barely knew this girl. She was alien, literally alien, but she was also kind, brave. She had shown him warmth when everyone else showed only suspicion. "Is that what you want?" he asked. Looked into his eyes. "I do not know. I barely know you, but I know that you are a good person. You saved me when you had no reason to. That means something." "It means I was raised to help people," said. "Nothing more." "Perhaps," said, "but perhaps it means something more. Perhaps fate brought you to our world for a reason. Perhaps you are meant to be here." She walked to the door and paused. "Think about what I said. Think about what you could do for my people. And think about what we could offer you. A new life, a new home, a new purpose." Then she was gone, and was alone again with his thoughts. He looked out the window at the alien stars. He thought about Earth, about his family, about the life he had left behind. It was all gone now, destroyed in a flash of fire when his ship exploded. But here was something new, a chance to start over, a chance to make a difference. By morning, he had made his decision. When the sunset came and the Queen called for his answer, stood before her throne and spoke with a clear voice. "I accept your offer, Your Majesty. I will marry into your family. I will share everything I know. I will help your people survive." The Queen nodded with satisfaction. "A wise choice, human, a very wise choice." Looked at, she smiled at him, and in that smile he saw hope, for both of them. The weeks that followed were the busiest of his life. From the moment he accepted the Queen's offer, everything changed. He was no longer a prisoner. He was a guest of honor, a future member of the royal family, and the most important person in the empire's medical future. They gave him new rooms, a whole section of the palace just for him, Servants attended to his every need. Tailors made him new clothes in style. Teachers came to teach him the language, the customs, the history. He studied from sunrise to sunset. And between the lessons, he worked. The Queen assembled a team of the Empire's best scientists and doctors. They met with every day. He explained human biology to them. He showed them how antibodies worked. He taught them about bacteria and viruses and the constant war that happened inside every human body. At first, they did not believe him. How could such primitive creatures fight disease so effectively? But as he showed them more and more, their doubt turned to amazement. Humans were not primitive at all. They were different, adapted, evolved in ways they had never imagined. Your ancestors faced millions of diseases, one scientist said with wonder. And instead of building machines to protect you, your bodies learned to fight. It is beautiful, terrible and beautiful. We had no choice, replied. We did not have advanced technology, we only had ourselves. This became the foundation of everything that followed. Worked with the scientists to create new medicines. They combined technology with human biological knowledge. The results were amazing. Treatments that once failed now succeeded. Infections that once killed now retreated. News spread across the empire. The human was saving lives. The human was a miracle worker. People who had feared him now celebrated him. Songs were written about the stranger from the stars who brought healing to their world. But not everyone was happy. Some nobles did not like seeing an alien become so powerful. They whispered in corners. They plotted in shadows. They called a threat to their pure bloodline. They demanded the queen send him away. The queen ignored them. She had made her decision and she would not change it. Her daughter was alive because of. Her empire had a future because of. That was all that mattered. 3 months after his arrival, the wedding day came. The ceremony was held in the grand temple at the heart of the city. Thousands of people gathered in the streets. Millions more watched through broadcast screens across the empire. This was the biggest event in a generation. A human marrying a princess. History was being made. Stood at the altar wearing robes of white and gold. He felt nervous but also strangely calm. He had accepted his fate. More than that, he had embraced it. This was his life now. This was his home. The music began and the great doors opened. Walked down the aisle, dressed in a gown that sparkled like starlight. Her white hair was decorated with flowers. Her golden eyes were bright with emotion. She looked beautiful. Truly, genuinely beautiful. As she reached the altar and took his hand, realized something important. He did not just accept this marriage because he had no choice. He accepted it because he wanted it. Somewhere along the way he had grown to care for, not as a patient, not as a princess, but as a person. The ceremony was long and full of traditions did not fully understand. There were prayers, speeches, rituals with fire and water and light. Through it all, he held his hand and followed her lead. When the priest asked if accepted as his partner, he answered without hesitation, "I do." When the priest asked if accepted as her partner, she smiled and said, "I do." They exchanged rings made of silver starlight. They drank from a shared cup of sweet wine. And when the priest declared them married, the crowd erupted in cheers that echoed across the city. That night there was a great feast in the palace. Food and music and dancing filled the halls. Sat beside at the head table looking out at the celebration. So many faces, so much joy, all for them. "Are you happy?" asked quietly. Thought about the question carefully. He thought about Earth, about the ship, about his old life that was gone forever. There was sadness there. There would always be sadness. But he also thought about the lives he had saved, the work he had done, the future he was building, and he thought about sitting beside him, looking at him with those beautiful golden eyes. "Yes," he said honestly, "I am happy, more than I expected to be." Squeezed his hand. "I am glad. I was worried you would hate this, hate me, hate my mother for forcing you." I did at first, admitted. But your mother was right about one thing. I had nothing left. My ship was destroyed. My crew was gone. Earth was too far away. I needed a new purpose, and your people needed help. So it was just duty? Asked, her voice uncertain. Turned to face her fully. No, it started as duty, but it became more. You showed me kindness when I was a stranger. You trusted me when your doctors did not. You believed in me when I did not believe in myself. How could I not care for someone like that? His eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling. You humans are strange creatures, so simple on the surface, but so deep underneath. We could say the same about you, replied with a grin. They laughed together, and in that moment they were not just married partners arranged by politics. They were friends, perhaps something more, something that would grow with time. As the celebration continued around them, the Queen approached. She looked at with an expression he had never seen before. It was almost warm, almost respectful. You have done well, human, she said. Better than I expected. Perhaps I misjudged your kind. Perhaps you did, replied boldly. Humans are full of surprises. The Queen actually laughed, a short, surprised sound. Yes, I am beginning to see that. She placed a hand on his shoulder. Welcome to the family. May you bring us many more surprises in the years to come. She walked away, leaving and alone again. The music played. The people danced. The stars shone through the crystal ceiling above. Looked up at those alien stars and thought about all that had happened. A crash landing, a wounded princess, a desperate queen, a forced marriage. And somehow through all of it, he had found a place to belong. He was the only human in an empire of billions, but he was not alone anymore. He had purpose. He had hope. And perhaps that was the most human thing of all. No matter how far from home he traveled, no matter how strange the world around him, he had found a way to survive, to adapt, to thrive. Where their science failed, his humanity prevailed. Leaned her head against his shoulder. What are you thinking about? Put his arm around her and smiled. I'm thinking about the future, our future, and all the good things we can do together. I like the sound of that, said softly. So did. Outside, the two purple suns rose over the horizon, painting the sky in colors Earth had never seen. A new day was beginning. A new chapter was starting. And was ready to write it.